Hey all, have you ever wondered why someone deliberately answers your question wrongly and still expect you to understand? Or if you yourself answer someone's question correctly according to pragmatics? If yes, then this video is for you. Let's talk about cooperative principle and implicature with me, Qonita Fauziah. Let's go! Cooperative principle. The cooperative principle is a concept in pragmatics introduced by Herbert Paul Grace in 1975. It describes how people are generally expected to cooperate in conversation by following certain rules or norms that make communication effective and meaningful. Grace proposed four conversational maxims that guide effective communication. These are maxim of quantity, maxim of quality, maxim of relevance, and maxim of manner. First, let's talk about maxim of quantity. This maxim requires speakers to give enough information for the listener to understand, but not so much that it becomes overwhelming, repetitive, or irrelevant. Providing too little may confuse the listener. Too much can bore or distract them. For example, if someone asks, "Where's the library?" then the correct way to answer is, "Next to the cafeteria." This is sufficient and irrelevant. If you answer, "It's next to the cafeteria, which was built in 1972 and blah 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 blah," then that's a violation of maxim of quantity because it's too long and unnecessary. Next, maxim of quality. This maxim asks speakers to be honest and only say what they have reason to believe is accurate. Avoid lies, exaggerations, or baseless claims. When violated intentionally, this often leads to sarcasm, irony, or humor, which the listener is expected to detect. For example, A asks, "Did it rain last night?" B answered, "Yes, I saw puddles this morning." This is how a maxim of quality works. If you answer, "Yeah, it rained chocolate milk," then this is definitely a lack of truth. That's probably a joke. Next is maxim of relevance. The explanation: stick to the topic. Say things that relate logically and contextually to what was just said. This keeps the conversation coherent and avoid confusion. When people flout this maxim, it's often to avoid the topic, change the subject, or suggest something indirectly. For example, if someone asks, "How was the movie?" then answer, "It was very touching," or "what you feel." If you answer stuff like, "I like my new shoes," this is definitely wrong because it's totally off topic. And the last maxim is maxim of manner. This maxim emphasizes clarity in communication. Speak in a way that is easy to understand. Use simple words, logical structure, and avoid unnecessary complexity or vagueness. For example, A asks, "What's your schedule today?" And B answered, "Math at 8, English at 10, break at 1." Do not answer with answer like, well, there's this thing with this person later maybe. This is unclear and confusing for the listener. Then, do you know that sometimes people break these rules on purpose and still expect you to understand the real meaning? Yes, this is where implicature comes in. Implicature is when a speaker says something indirectly and the listener infers the hidden meaning. There are two types of implicature. First, conventional implicature. The meaning is tied to specific words or phrases and doesn't rely on context because it builds into language. For example, she's poor but happy. The word but implies contrast between being poor and happy. Second, conversational implicature. It depends on context and assumes cooperative communication. It happens when someone violates a maxim and we infer why. For example, A asks, "Did John pass the exam?" And B answered, "Well, he studied really hard." The maxim of relevance is violated, but the implicature is he probably didn't pass. So the conclusion is Gray's cooperative principle and the theory of implicature provide a framework to understand how meaning operates in conversation. While the cooperative principle outlines how people should speak, implicature explains how listeners infer deeper or hidden meaning when these expectations are deliberately not met. These concepts are important because they help us analyze conversation and meaning beyond literal words. They're essential in linguistics, pragmatics, communication, and English language studies, and they show how humans use context, tone, and shared logic to make sense of vague or indirect speech. And that's all about the material. Thank you so much for listening. See you!